Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Hawaii Weather Watch. Today's November 25th, and today I thought I'd do a special edition because we've got some interesting weather headed towards the Hawaiian Islands here. A pretty powerful storm looks to be incoming over the next few days. So we're going to dive into some of those details as we go through the video here this afternoon. If you look off to the north and west of the Hawaiian Islands, you can see this energy out there. This cold air is going to drop off and get very close to the islands here, just to the west. Perfect scenario here for some very heavy rain, some strong winds, and maybe even some snow for the highest terrain. So we'll look at that here in a moment. As we look off into the Western Pacific, here's Japan there. There's the Aleutian Islands and that batch of cold air there. That is the storm going to be arriving just to the west of the Hawaiian Islands. If you look carefully here, you can see the Hawaiian Islands kind of outlined right there. Now taking a wider look of the Pacific Ocean, we've got Alaska, Washington, California. Here's Japan to the far left. There's the Hawaiian Islands right here where I'm circling. And we got a little pressure out there right now, which is going to really get reinforced by some very cold air that's going to get cut off in what's known as a Kona low. And if you guys been out across the Hawaiian Islands, when one of these storms strikes, you know what I mean. This can be quite impactful to the state. And you can see it does hang out for a few days, potentially all the way through this weekend, as you can see, as this one kind of sets up perfectly. The thing with Kona lows is once they get cut off, they tend to drift back to the west, but this one is not in any hurry to do so, and that could bring some serious flooding concerns to some of the state. Now taking a look at the European, this is hot off the presses, the 12Z run. These are 6-hour precipitation totals and mean sea level pressure. If we put this into motion, you can see the precipitation start to get close to the Hawaiian Islands by the time we go on into the day Tuesday. And by Tuesday afternoon, starting to hit portions of Kauai, then eventually Oahu, pushing off towards Maui, Molokai, and Lanai, and then eventually the Big Island as well, as some of these bands of precipitation here are going to be quite intense. And you'll notice I'm scrolled all the way out towards Saturday morning now, and just continued big amounts of precipitation continue to show up in these model runs. And finally, that Kona low weakens and drifts back towards the east here. But there could be some very dynamic flooding with a storm like this. Now, taking a look at the 500 millibar temperature, I want to show you what's going on at the upper levels of the atmosphere. There's the low pressure system out over the western portion of the Hawaiian Islands right now. Not much of an impact on the state, but then you can see the even colder air arrive as we go on in through the day Tuesday, and this drops down and just spins. And if the European's right here, this is going to bring some pretty impactful rainfall to much of the state. As you can see, this just hangs out all the way through the weekend before finally the westerlies pick up some of that cold air, and this modifies to an extent will finally end the precipitation here across the state of Hawaii. Taking a look here again, the Hawaiian Islands right here, this is precipitable water. And the thing about the Hawaiian Islands is when you do drop this colder air aloft down, there's always this tap of very moist tropical moisture. So it doesn't take much to really drag a lot of that tropical moisture back up over the state. Now, as we go ahead and scroll on in towards Tuesday, here we go with the formation of this Kona low to the west of the Hawaiian Islands. And you can clearly see the spin there, and look at it just tap this extremely rich tropical moisture and bring this potential pretty dynamic flooding here, folks. Hopefully something changes in the model runs, because if this continues to trend as it does, there's going to be some significant flooding across portions of the islands here. And I'll play that back, going backwards now, and then you can see that Kona low gets spinning up here and just really bring the deep tropical moisture back up over the state here as we go through the mid and end of the week all the way in through the weekend. Now take a look at 925 millibars here. Again, the Hawaiian Islands are right there. And put this into motion, and you'll clearly see the storm drop down. You can see we've got some easterly flow at the surface there in the lower levels of the atmosphere. Then here comes the Kona storm, and look at just draw these powerful south winds across the state of Hawaii. And that's why they call them Kona lows, because you get the southerly winds that tend to impact places like Kona, which a lot of times the Kona is sheltered from the trade winds. If you live on the Big Island for any time, you kind of know that fact. So when you get those southerly winds, that's why they call them Kona winds. And you can see this hang on all the way through the weekend with some of that very strong convergence in the lower levels of the atmosphere, spawning these potential torrential downpours. Now taking a look at lightning flash density potential here, also the 12Z European model run. And we're going to scroll ahead here. We are into Sunday morning. You can see most of that lightning activity remaining off to the west with the initial cold air. But then as we really get the big batch of cold air down here across the upper levels of the atmosphere, you can really see that lightning start to spread over some of the state here. So you could see some widespread thunderstorm activity across much of the Hawaiian Islands. Also, we're into Wednesday morning here. You can see why Wednesday afternoon, another round of thunderstorms through Wednesday night into Thursday. And as we go all the way in through Friday, another round, potentially Big Island at that point, just north of the islands. And then all the way in through this weekend, look at these bands just continue to pummel the islands all the way through the weekend for that Kona Kona low finally weakens and gets caught up in the lower level trade flow and moves off to the east. Now taking a closer look at that really quick here, but this is 6-hour max lightning flash density potential. And you can clearly see as I scroll through the mid and later portions of this week, just round after round of thunderstorms, if this continues to show in the model runs here. And basically, if this verifies, there's going to be huge problems on the island. So I kind of want to watch the storm closely. I have family out there on the Big Island. I've got some friends still on Oahu out there. I used to work for Hawaiian Airlines. For those of you guys who may not know some of my previous aviation experience, but I did work for Island Air and Hawaiian Airlines out there as well. So yeah, big impactful storm. Hopefully something changes in the forecast and it's not quite this dynamic, because this is going to equal some big problems. I'm going to scroll through this with the total precipitation in inches, something we'll be watching for the next few days. You can clearly see as these rains come over the area here. I mean, look at some of these amounts. And when you get these storms, there's going to be some locally much higher amounts, especially across some of the higher terrain, potentially even the Big Island. You know, this will shift back and forth in upcoming model runs here. And you can see this very rich moisture and extreme precipitation amounts just right on up towards Maui and Honolulu there, for example, and across the higher terrains. This is not going to capture just how much rainfall will fall across some of the higher mountains. You're going to talk about landslide potential with this as well. Here's 100-meter wind speeds. There's going to be some big winds with this also. You can see kind of the trade flow going on, and then the easterly component, and then the Kona low comes in and starts to bring these southerly winds. And again, the strong low-level convergence, thunderstorm activity, torrential rainfall as we go towards the end of the weekend on in through the weekend. Here's we're looking at total precipitation. This is the ensemble plume. You can see these gray lines here. These are the individual ensemble members. The green line is the average of all those ensemble members, and the blue line is the control run. So the control run is the deterministic model, and it's basically the initial conditions best we understand them. Each one of these gray lines has the initial conditions tweaked a little bit to try to correct for any errors in our forecast. And you can see some pretty big amounts even in the ensemble being, but the control run has some huge amounts here for Honolulu, for example. This is Hilo. You can see as going on in through the day Thursday, potential for big rainfall amounts. And again, with the ensemble mean here showing quite a bit of rain coming in. And of course, across the Big Island, the terrain changes so much. There's going to be huge differences in the amount of precipitation depending on where you are located. Barking Sands out here, Kauai, you can see some big precip potentially incoming with this Kona storm also. And the Climate Prediction Center is picking up on it. The forecast discussion is picking up on it as well, but it's still a couple days out. So hopefully something changes in these model runs, because the European is painting a pretty dire picture here for the state of Hawaii. And again, one more look at the infrared satellite imagery. It's this batch of energy back here that we're watching that's going to bring that cold air and set up that Kona low right to the west of the Hawaiian Islands. So anyway, just thought I'd do this little special edition update for Hawaii. I tend to do this from time to time when impactful weather looks like it's going to hit some other areas. Anything that really catches my fancy around the world. I plan on doing a little bit more eventually as I have time. But yeah, I just thought I'd do this one for Hawaiian Islands. Let me know what you guys think about these videos as well. I'll probably post this on the California channel. And anybody traveling back and forth on the West Coast, heads up for midweek and later through this week here. If you've got vacation plans in the Hawaiian Islands, you're going to want to know about this storm. So anyway, yeah, I'll do my normal briefings tomorrow for the Pacific Northwest Weather Watch and the California Weather Watch channel as always. And I hope to see you guys tomorrow, and I'll talk to you then.